Welcome, welcome. This is to a memorial, almost a year late. I've been trying to do this memorial for my buddy Kevin Earl Knight, who died last year around this time in the fall, down in Gardner, Mass, in the town he grew up in, and. I've been thinking about this. I mean, it's tough. How do you? I wasn't able to make the remembrance ceremony because of car issues and health issues. But I mean, how do you memorialize somebody you've been best friends with half your entire life? It's not easy. It's not. But we're going to try and do it here. And thanks to the wizardry of Philo and the folks here at NEK-TV, we'll do this and put it up to YouTube so that his daughters and grandkids maybe might want to look at it. There's going to be some references to drug use in here. And just bear in mind that it was the 70s, okay? You can't. It's like people who try and judge the colonial founding fathers by today's morals and standards. You can't. Things were different in the 70s, and the inflation was bad, but man, the music was good. So, anyways. We're going to start off with a picture of me and Kevin. Here we are. Thank you, Philo. This was taken at Cook Farm. Let me start by how I met Kevin. In the old days, we went to a trade school, Voc Tech. Now it's called Montechusett Regional Vocational Tech. Back then it was just called Fitchburg Trade School. And they were building the new school, but we went to the four trades that went to the old school were machine shop, carpentry, electrical, and auto mechanics. And they were held in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, right near where the Social Security building is now. There was up near the Boulder on Upper Main Street, there was an old Victorian abandoned mansion there with a big wraparound porch. It was a beautiful old house, but it was abandoned, and it was full of drunks and winos, and we had to thread our way past these drunks and winos to get to the trade areas, to get to shop, and then we went. For academics, we went up on the hill to this old brick 3-story building that was built when Abraham Lincoln was president. And the steam heat was so loud that when the heat would come on in the winter, you couldn't hear the teacher. All you could hear was the pipes banging. So anyways, that's where I met Kevin. And I didn't think much of it because we didn't have any contact with people outside of our areas, but we were in some of the same classes together. So anyways, we wound up going up to, let's see what we have. What's the next pictures, Philo? Can we run through them? Yeah. Okay. Maybe hit the other Ocean Beach Pier picture. Yeah, there we are. There's the OB Pier. Anyways, we went up to the new school, and they saved on labor by having us refurbish all the machine tools, sand them and paint them and stuff like that. And then they had the guys in electrical wire them up, so the electrical controls. And so that's where I met Kevin. But I would be sent over to the electrical shop every now and then, and these weasels over there, they had this EMT. It's electromechanical tubing, It's like just like a thin-walled pipe where wires go through, and they would have wire nuts that fit inside them, wire ties. It looks just like it's a wire tie. You take two wires and you twist them together. But they looked like little Apollo space capsules, and they would put those in the pipes and shoot them at you like a blow dart. And they would all they would all be hanging around up on this balcony, and I'd walk into the electrical shop, and it's like bam, 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 bam. You'd get pelted by these by these wire nuts. So consequently, we started calling the electricians wire nuts. So anyways, we had a whole contingent of heads. It was kind of like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It was, or that other movie, Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused is kind of like what it was like to be back in school back then. Dazed and Confused took place in 1976. We were the class of 74, and it was horrible hazing, man. We used to get the crap beat out of us by some of the upperclassmen. They used to throw people off the stairwells and stuff. It was just nuts. And of course, the teachers were never around. They'd look the other way. But that kind of stopped when we got up to the new school. So anyways, one time there was a field trip where the kids, all these different classes, would take a bus ride into Boston to the Heinz Center, I think it was called, Philo. Yeah, it was the Heinz Center, and they had the Sportsman Show. It was a combination RVs, boats, bass boats, pleasure boats. It was all sportsman stuff. So Kevin and I decided to go just for the heck of it, and we wound up taking what was called back then mescaline. So, anyways, we get down to Boston, and the driver's all like, "You got to be back here by like 8 o'clock," and I mean it. So, somehow they knew that we weren't all going to the sportsman show, because most of those people were all jocks and sportsmen, and Kevin and I were the only two long hairs on the trip. So we wound up walking around downtown Boston, and we walked, I'll never forget it, man. We were very electric, if you know what I mean. And we walked into this music store, and they had these big old JBLs up on the wall. This is my first contact with JBL speakers, up on the wall, and they were playing Serves You Right to Suffer, an old John Lee Hooker song by the Jay Giles Band. And if you've never heard it, it is just fantastic. And so anyways, once is anybody who knows, once you've taken a trip with somebody, you pretty much know them. You know them very well. So anyways, Kevin's buddy was dealing window pane back then. I can't mention his name, Coley, but he had a photographic memory and a little bug-eyed sprite. Kevin had an MGB, and I had an MGB GT at the time because of the gas crunch, the Arab oil embargo. Let's go to another picture, Philo, if we could. There's my buddy Craig Ellis and his wife Karen. We'll get into them later. Another one, Philo? Another picture, please. Okay, there's my Kawasaki. Let's keep going. Okay, the Casa del Buzzo. We'll leave it there for a while. So anyways, where was I? I know we should have made an outline. So, anyways, yeah. So Kevin, we were all we were the sports car contingent because of the oil embargo, and we were ripping around, and Kevin's buddy was dealing, and Kevin was dealing weed back then, amongst other things. So, anyways, I realized I came to the realization that what I was doing was dealing with a Schedule 1 drug, and with the window pane, and it wasn't like pot. Pot is still Schedule 1, I believe, but the judges would go fairly lenient on you for dealing weed, but not the other stuff, because they were so scared of people tripping their brains out that they would throw the book at you. So anyways, I handed the ball off to somebody else in Lunenburg, and that's how Kevin got to know all the Lunenburg brats, as they were called back then. And so anyways, let's see. We got out of school, and I'd lost my license 3 times before I turned 18. And Kevin got an apartment up near Fitchburg State College, and we wound up splitting the apartment. I was living in my parents' the hayloft out in the barn above where we used to keep the cows. But even that got too much, so with the parents and everything. So I moved in with Kevin, and he was dealing, and it was cool because he could trust me with everything. That's one thing I'm proud to say, that people could trust me with money, drugs, didn't matter. The only thing I could be tempted by was downers. Don't leave any downers around. Back then, second alls or 2-and-alls. No, I didn't have a problem with them, but I would grab a couple for myself. So anyways, Kevin had this thing where he would keep moving. He would move every 6 months, which was a good idea because he'd get a new phone and he could shake loose the people that he didn't want to deal with anymore. And mind you, he was dealing a lot of weed back then. He would I would accompany him down to Worcester to see this Jewish guy, and that's all I knew about him. I knew his last name. I can't remember it now. But Kevin would drop me off at a bar down near Quinsigamond College, I think, and he'd go get the weed and then come back with me because for some reason, and he had dealer plates. His father had a car lot, so he always had dealer plates, and he would have a different car every friggin' week. And so he'd get the weed, come back and pick me up, and off we'd go back home to Fitchburg or Leominster later. So one time he drops me off at this bar, and there was like a $5 cover charge. And I only had about $10 with me, so I'm sitting there nursing a draft beer. But the cover charge was for this female singer, and she was a blues singer and played the guitar too. And she had bright red hair, and her name was Bonnie Raitt. And Kevin comes back to pick me up, and I says, Kevin, I said, you gotta hear this girl play. I said, I already paid the cover charge. Come on, stick around. And he didn't do it. He's all like, oh, we gotta go. I'll pay you the cover charge back. And that was the first time I ever saw Bonnie Raitt. And it was a little teeny tiny club, not much bigger than this room, man. It had if you could call it a stage, it was the size of a tabletop in the corner. And there was Bonnie Raitt playing her Stratocaster. I can't remember if she had anybody with her. I don't think so. But anyways, so then we got rid of the apartment in Fitchburg near the State College, and he got an apartment at Leominster Gardens right near Route 2. and it was right across the street in railroad tracks, across the highway and the railroad tracks, was Sanborn Machine and Die, where I was doing my apprenticeship and going to work. But Kevin had some pretty decent sound equipment. He had a reel-to-reel and a couple of microphones, and he had some honking speakers. I can't remember which kind. Anyways, but this lady upstairs had this kid named Jeffrey, and she'd be screaming for this kid, man, out the window, Jeffrey! And it was horrible. It was like, you know, you're trying to sleep or take a nap, and here's this harpy screeching for Jeffrey right above your bedroom. And we were in the ground floor, half underground. And so Kevin did, we took a couple of microphones and we hung them out the window, and we got her on reel-to-reel tape screaming, Jeffrey! Jeffrey! And so we were up late one night, and we took the speakers and pointed them at the ceiling, and played back her screaming for Jeffrey. And I think she got the message. She didn't scream for him anymore. She'd actually leave the apartment, go out and look for him. But anyways, this Kevin would be off dealing here or there, all over New England, for crying out loud. Sometimes he actually went down to see his buddy Lee down in South Carolina. He was bringing hashish down there near some military base or some damn thing. And he'd leave me alone. And so, but one time this guy, Fang, who was dealing with him, came over, and Fang was working at a pharmacy in Western Massachusetts, and the pharmacist would give him a bunch of expired pills to flush down the toilet. So what Fang did was he drilled a hole behind the toilet, or there was one already there for an old pipe or some damn thing, and he put a jar on the down in the basement to catch the pills, and he would throw the, you know, the crappy unwanted pills in the toilet and flush them, and he would take the good expired pills like Nebitols, Tuanols, Secanols, and Quaaludes and everything else, and he would drop them down the hole into the jar, and he'd bring them over to trade with Kevin. And sometimes when Kevin wasn't there, I'd just tell Fang, I said, look, you know, I'll either trade him some weed and pay Kevin for the weed, or I would just buy him outright from Fang. And he came over one time, I don't know where he got it, with this Mettler digital scale, which was a big thing back then. Those things cost almost over $1,000, I think. And we were taking weighing like drops of water and weighing a postage stamp, and it was just incredible, this Mettler digital scale. And Kevin put it to good use dealing other stuff. Coke wasn't real big back then for some reason. I don't know what it was. Cocaine didn't start getting big until after the bicentennial, which brings me to the bicentennial. There's the Casa del Buzzo. I'll bring that up later. Let's go to another one, Philo, if we may. Yeah, there's Kevin's apartment in Ocean Beach. That was about a block away from the ocean, as I recall. And the Ocean Beach Pier is straight down that road about 5 blocks. So anyways, we somehow during the bicentennial, we convinced my girlfriend Lois to lend us her brand new Maverick that she just bought. The Ford Maverick was the same as a Falcon, which was the same as a Mustang. It was all the same frame and undercarriage. It was just different body styles. So we convinced her to let us take her car to California during the bicentennial. And it was me and Andy Andrews and Kevin. And we hopped in that thing and we drove like non-stop, man, to the Rockies. And then when we got out there, we went to this little town, old gold mining town called Central City, and they ruined it now. They allowed gambling there. Central City, you went up this windy ass road, and it was kind of like Provincetown without the gays. It was all like hippies, and they had mine tours, and they were still eking out a couple of gold flakes here and there. So we went up to Central City, and that was on the way back. On the way out, we stopped at Carlsbad Caverns, and back then, you didn't need an escort. They would let you go right down into the caverns by yourself. All they gave you was an interactive telephone, and you could go from station to station, and you'd turn on the telephone, and they would explain to you what you were looking at. But then some jerks, a couple years later, were breaking off stalagmites and stalactites and stuff for souvenirs, so that you had to have a ranger go with a group down into the cavern. Boy, did that stink. So anyways, then we made it out to San Diego for the bicentennial, and it was the biggest friggin' party I had ever seen, man. July 4th, 1976. The whole West Coast was rocking. We're talking from San Ysidro on the Tijuana border all the way up to San Francisco and points north. The beach was just insane. It was the biggest stinking party we'd ever seen, like Evel Knievel said. It was unbelievable. So anyways, we hung around San Diego for a while. I had made good friends with my sister's roommate Sheila, and so anyways, we headed north. We went through L.A. I think it was almost dark by we got to L.A., and then we were wound up in San Francisco early in the morning, and we're driving through the Haight-Ashbury. Kevin wanted to see where the Grateful Dead had sprung from. So we're driving through the Haight-Ashbury at like 7 a.m. or something, and it was just, it was turned into bumland by then, man. By 76, it was just wino land. It was a bunch of skraelings and pickpockets and head whackers, and so we didn't hang around San Francisco very long. We went over the bridge into the Muir Woods and to the Sequoia National Park or whatever it was, with the big ass trees you could drive through. It was just crazy, man. And we saw the sequoias, but not the redwoods. And then we drove back, and on the way back we came back through Colorado, and we stopped at the Coors Brewery, because back then you could not buy Coors east of the Rockies. It had to be refrigerated, and on the West Coast even, if somebody from the Coors distributor saw you with stacks of cases of Coors and it was unrefrigerated, they would pull it. They would pull it from your store. So anyways, we took the tour of the Coors Brewery. They were just doubling it in size back then, and we loaded up the back seat of this Maverick with Coors beer. So it was like room for one person to sit looking forward, or if you turned sideways, you could rest your legs up on the cases of beer. And we were in Ohio, and we got pulled over by some hokey sheriffs out near my cousin's place in New Middletown. We stopped there and got fed by my Aunt Emma. Good grief, she was always like, "Eat, Stephen, eat." Old German lady, man, always stuffing you with food. So anyways, we got pulled over by the sheriff, and he says, we were out of weed and stuff by then anyway, so we were sober as a judge. And he says, "Man, I wish you had an open container or something to give me a reason to take some of that Coors beer from you." And sure enough, man, that's a year later they came out with that Burt Reynolds movie, Smokey and the Bandit. They don't mention what they're hauling, but everybody knew it was Coors beer. They were smuggling it back along the East Coast. If you knew somebody who was a trucker, you could get it. So anyways, yeah, so that was our bicentennial adventure. And then, let's see, I got into some trouble in 1977. I outran a couple Leominster cops. The third one ran me off the road, smashed up my car. It didn't look good. I was about to lose my license forever and ever. So, let's go to the Sonnet, Philo, the sports car one. Yeah, there's Kevin in the Sonnet. I had a '69 Sonnet that Jack Daniels got, the one I smashed up. And we'll leave it there for a while. Thank you. And so I got into this car accident. So I said, "Well, the heck with this. I'm gonna have to rearrange my priorities here, because I would have had to go seriously into debt to get another car or try and get a lawyer to get my license." Anyways, so what I did was I had a buddy of mine on Cape Cod, because I was working at Packaging Industries back then. Or I just got a job with Apco Tool and Die. It was a mold making company in Hyannis. And I had a buddy of mine ship my machinist tools out to San Diego, UPS, and I made up a bunch of signs, and I decided to hitchhike cross country in '77. That's a whole nother story. It took me a week to get across country. But I met some real interesting people. Like my father said, 99.9% of the people you meet in this country are good people and would give you the shirt off their back and help you out if you're in a jam. And most all of them did. The only trouble I had was with the gays on the East Coast. They wanted me to stay in their car, and they would not take no for an answer. So anyways, I got out, I made it across country, and I was out there, and the economy was getting a little slow or something. So what I did was I sent Kevin, I got the Sunday San Diego Union Tribune and cut out the help wanted for electricians section, and I sent it back to Kevin, and next thing you know, Kevin and Sandy come out in this what do you 68 Chevy Rust Bucket he took off his father's car lot. The thing had a screaming 283 motor in it, and so next thing you know, Kevin got a job right away, of course, and Sandy did too, and she was wound up working for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Kevin was working for some contractors. Building houses, because they were just building houses like 10 a day in San Diego County. It's crazy now. It was crazier back then. And so one time we took that Chevy down to Tijuana. Oh man, that was another thing. That was when I came out with the Camaro. I'll get to that later. But anyways, Kevin and I decided to go down to Tijuana for something. I can't remember what. So we hopped in that old Chevy and we drove down to TJ. And what they do is they come out, they have these little kids that go around handing tourists coupons for free margaritas, right? So they give you these free margaritas at this bar. And then after you've had a couple, you wind up buying a bunch of margaritas and listening to the mariachi bands and maybe eating if they got a kitchen, you know. And so it works out good for them to hand out the free margarita tickets. Well, next thing you know, Kevin and I are getting cocked. And it was in the winter, as I recall, because the roads were wet from the rain. And Kevin was driving, and we were sliding sideways, going down the wrong way down these streets, and just raising hell, man, as the roads were slippery, and next thing you know, we hear the sirens. So I'm all like, holy shit, Kevin, they're coming. The federales are after us. So we pull into this body shop, and the guy hears the sirens, and we asked him, were there sanctuary? So he's all like, necesito tu pago. So we gave him like $20, and we brought the Chevy in his garage, and we waited there for a couple of hours until the federales had calmed down and weren't looking for us anymore before we crossed back into San Diego across the border. Man, oh man. And that's what I say, never drink and drive, boys and girls. You'll spill your drink. So we had a great time out there. Let's see. Let's go back to the guy and his wife, Craig Ellis. Yeah, right there. Thanks, Philo. Craig was my roommate at 4770 Point Loma Ave. We had the upstairs apartment, and it was great. Once the traffic died down, you could hear the surf. We were only like a half a block from the cliffs in Point Loma. It was right on the border of Point Loma and Ocean Beach. And Kevin and Sandy had the apartment downstairs, and Craig and I had the apartment upstairs. And so anyways, Craig wound up moving to the Casa del Buzzo, which was that house we were just showing you a while ago. And he met Karen. She was still in high school, I think. Craig was like 21, 22, and she was in like high school. And anyways, she grabbed a hold of him, and he was willing, and they got along good, and they wound up getting married. But then, and some reason, I don't know what happened, man. He worked in a hospital. He worked at Balboa Naval Hospital, and he developed liver cancer, and we wound up burying him in like 1992, I think. It was horrible. But anyways, let's see. I wound up moving to the Casa del Buzzo also. Let's go to another picture, Philo. Where are we? Yeah, there's the Casa del Buzzo. This house was, it was a bunch of surfers. And I had the bedroom in the upper right corner on the second story. And we had like orange trees out in the backyard, man. And all up and down the alleyway, they had avocado trees, orange trees. It was just, I mean, you could forage up and down, just all over Point Loma. You had good foraging, and you could see out over the oceans from the picture window on the other side of the house. And it was all surfers, man. I was the only person, after Craig moved out and got married, I was the only person there who had a real job. T-Bone, all those guys did surf and deal drugs and deal coke. And that was when it was getting big. And so I had a hard time keeping beer, though. I worked second shift. I want to get out of work and maybe have a beer or two. But oh no, man, you couldn't keep anything in the fridge with these surfers. They'd wind up taking everything, guzzling it or eating it. But it worked out good because they would get abalone, and which was a tasty shellfish, and these other fish they would go spearfishing off the cliffs, and I would sit on the beach and read a book and stuff and watch their clothes and their gear while they were out spearfishing in the kelp beds. It worked out pretty good, but then again, it got pretty old in pond times too. So, and my dad was sick, so I had to keep coming back. But Kevin was hitting the strip clubs back then. Well, we all were, and I told him, man, I said, you're crazy. I said, Sandy's a real sweetheart. And I said, if you don't marry that girl, I will. Anyways, they wound up getting married, and they moved back east. I wound up moving back east too. Okay, let's go to another picture, Philo. Oh, there's the Dulzura Cafe. Uh, we'd go out there when it was cloudy. The beach gets socked in with clouds and fog. Half the summer, man. Most all the summer. It's crazy. The fog's there. It doesn't burn off until like 10 a.m. sometimes noon, and then it comes back in. So, but I had some friends that lived inland. My buddy Wayne Van Tile I worked with out in Dulzura, and I'd go out with I'd take Kevin out there and show him around, and Earl and Bunny or whatever it was, Earl and Kitty ran the Dulzura Cafe, and there was a big barn out behind this place, and was noted for their jam sessions, and I often wonder that Bruce Springsteen song Rosalita. There's a little cafe down a San Diego way where they play guitar all night and all day. You can hear them in the back room strumming. I swear it was the Dulzura Cafe. Anyways, this guy Bunny, it was like Rick and Bunny or something. They were living like hippies. He was a carpenter, so he had a steady job, and we'd go over and party with them. And on a full moons, we'd Cesar Chavez back then in '77 had blocked off the desert for he called it the wet line, and they would beat up any wetbacks. They would beat up any Mexicans that would come across the border in the desert. So what they did was they started coming across the border up in the hills east of San Diego, and we on a full moon we'd sit up on Rick and Kitty's roof there or whatever, and with a pair of binoculars, and it was like the whole valley was moving. You could see all these coyotes smuggling people in. They would get $1,000 a head back then to get them up to L.A., and it was crazy. So, anyways, let's go for another picture, Philo. Yeah, what do we got? Oh no, that's New England. That's a bummer. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, there's my ranchero and stuff. Let's go back. There's another sonnet picture with Kevin, right? Yeah, thanks. Oh, leave it on that one. Where's the one with the boat in the desert? Yeah, all right. There's Kevin and Pee Wee right there. I worked with Pee Wee at Solar Turbines in San Diego, and this guy Match, who owned that boat right there, and we would go to this place called Senator's Wash, and there was no supervision back then. People packed their gear in, packed it out, but we'd go out there and eat peyote buttons and pour gas on the fire and stuff, and have big old bonfires, and nobody broke any glass. People took care of the place. But now of course you have to, the Bureau of Land Reclamation, the BLM or whatever, you have to pay to get out there. There are YouTube videos about Senator's Wash, and it's changed now. But back then, in 77, 78, 79, you could go out there and do whatever. And so we would go out and camp out and go water skiing and stuff like that. You had to be careful because the water levels would change overnight. It was basically like a battery where they would store water for irrigation. They would suck it off the Colorado River and pump it up there, and then let it down. I think they made electricity off it too on its way downhill. But anyways, yeah, there's Kevin right there getting sunburnt to beat the band, and my buddy Pee Wee behind him. Pee Wee's real name was Edward Odie Locke. He was from Texas. I said, "Where did you learn to water ski in Texas like that?" He said, "You don't know much about Texas. It's all the land north of Austin is nothing but lakes, People think of Texas as just the Pecos and the high desert. It's not." What it is hot and sticky most of the year, though. And so yeah, so Kevin used to bug Match to no end because he was from Kansas. He would call him Dorothy and call him Dorothy, Dorothy, and I'm surprised they didn't get down to it. But we had a great time camping out there. Let's go to the next one with the lawn chair. Yeah. Remember, boys and girls, when you're young and you're having fun, take more pictures, okay? And have them printed up on something, so you can reminisce when you get to be old and gray. And I think that's Kevin right there. It's either Kevin or Pee Wee, but there's the aftermath of one of our all-night parties. And we would go out there again. We would go out to Senator's Wash, to the desert, because of the beach being fogged in, and it was always nice and sunny out in the desert, and we'd be camping out there. One time we took. I was going out with this girl Angela, and let's see. Let's go to my buddy Frank. He's on the guy on the balcony with those two girls. Thanks, Philo. I appreciate this. Yeah, there it is. Okay. There's my buddy Frank. He worked with those guys down at Solar Turbines also. And this was at his parents'. His parents had a house right on the cliffs in Rosarito. You could if you were a gringo, you couldn't own land in Mexico, but you could lease it for 99 years. So they got a 99-year lease during the 50s and built a house down there. Had a upstairs, and the downstairs was a rental apartment long before there were B&Bs. And so Frank, we took Match's boat, Frank had a boat. He had a 17-foot Donzi, I think, and we towed his boat behind a Winnebago, and we went out to San Felipe, and we had Angela. Like an idiot, I was the only guy who brought my girlfriend. Everybody else, it was all single guys, and we got and Frank parks the Winnebago in front of a traffic light in Rosarito, in San Felipe, and the cops come out. And they're talking about impounding the thing. They're not going to write us a ticket, man. They're going to impound the thing, and it's going to cost us megabucks to get it out of Hawk. So Angela comes. We get a hold of Angela because she speaks Spanish. She's telling me, "Oh, I don't speak Spanish," and I'm all like, "Of course you do." I said, "You better talk to these cops." I said, "Look, I've met your parents. Your parents don't speak any English." I says, "You talk Spanish to them. You better talk to these cops. We got to nip this in the bud." So, so we got it out of Hawk, and we were camping down in San Felipe, and we went out fishing in the Baja California down there in the inland part where the Colorado River comes into Mexico, and I was fighting this big old fish. I'm thinking, boy, I got this big one now, and I finally reeled it in and got it up near the boat. You know what it was, Philo? It was a stingray, and I didn't know how to cook a stingray. I didn't know back then. I guess you can take like a punch or something, and you punch pieces of the wing out, and they're just like eating scallops. But anyways, we finally got out of there, and we got the boat stuck, and it was just a nightmare. The mud was like, I don't know how deep. It was just a crazy weekend, and the alcohol didn't help any. Okay, let's see. Old Frank, man. We had a party at my house where I rented another house with Match and this guy named Odie, who was a tunnel rat during Vietnam. And we had a pool party there with underwater strippers. And Frank got so cocked, he hopped in his car and he was driving back to his apartment in Ocean Beach. And the cops pulled him over on the freeway, Philo. And he got out of his car, walked over to the cruiser, opened the back door, and just hopped in the back. And this dude was the highway patrol. He says, "Man, that was easy." And Frank says, "Look, you got me, you know." He says, "I'm not going to fight it." That was a DUI for Frank. I think he got off it, though. Anyways, let's go to another picture. Frank Bennett. His father had some kind of thing. Oh, yeah, the desert. Here we are. There's yours truly out in the desert. And Enza Borrego. And some buddy of mine had told me where all the hot springs were and stuff. That was another thing. If you knew where they weren't marked either back then, I don't think. You could go down these dirt roads and bang, you're at this beautiful hot spring. It was like a giant jacuzzi. And somebody had brought a bunch of bags of cement and they got rocks together and built this like jacuzzi out there. It was fantastic. And we'd always have fun going out into the desert. So anyways, and oh man, let's see. I guess I should wrap this up. There was times, it was one time we'd, I don't think it was window pane. I think it was Purple Pyramid, where Kevin and I knew from Boy Scout camp, I knew all the hiking trails on Mount Monadnock and all the places off the hiking trails. So Kevin and I had decided to make a day of it. It was beautiful fall day, kind of like this time of year. The leaves were turning colors, and so we dropped some pyramid, and we were hiking the east side of Mount Monadnock, and it was a great trip. We brought along some Valium just in case things got too hairy, and some wine in a wine skin. Back then, everybody had a wine skin or two, and we got hydrated, and that was a great trip. I'll never forget that. We spent all day up on that mountain, man, and lo and behold, Kevin would come up here. And when I got my house finished, he would hop in his car and mix a few drinks. And by the time he was on his third drink, he was here in North Troy. Go figure. And one time he brought a bottle of nitrous with him, and I swear he enjoyed just coming up here to poke around with my wood stove and stuff. And we'd watch Grateful Dead concerts and stuff I had on disc. DVDs, and but the biggest mistake I made, let's see, let's go back to me, Terry. I think we're going to wrap this up. Thanks. Yeah, that was Cook Farm. That would have been about 1988, 89. Neither one of us were real good on cross-country skis. But let's go to the camera for me at the desk here, if we could, so we can wrap this up. Thank you, Philo. In the booth, we have Philo. We could not do this without him, or put it up to YouTube either. But the biggest mistake I made was, damn it, I had never told anybody how I voted. You know what I mean, Philo? It was just one of those things. People would ask you how you vote, and I'd say, I'm not going to tell you how I voted. That's why they put curtains on the voting booth. You know what I mean? Well, I made the mistake of telling Kevin how I voted in 2016. And, of course, I voted for the Orange Man. I couldn't vote for Hillary. I couldn't. And that was it, man. That was it. That drove Kevin over the edge. Oh, look at this. I found this too. It's Kevin's handwriting. Go figure. I was cleaning up some stuff upstairs, and It's a Priscilla candy shop thing. Man, that guy had a sweet tooth, I'll tell you what. So I made the mistake of telling Kevin how I voted, and that was it. That was it, man. It just split him right off. He couldn't understand how I could vote like that. But anyways, he was my best friend from 11th grade, 12th grade in school until 2016. And you don't get too many best friends, man. And I'll never forget when him and Sandy would bring the girls down to Cheryl's house. My wife had bought a house, a summer camp on Hickory Hills Lake in Lunenburg, and we converted it into a year-round. And it was on a peninsula, and the main beach faced south, as I recall, or maybe it was east. I don't know. Had a big old dock, and he'd bring the girls down, and his younger daughter Ellie, they were just fascinated by my dog for some reason. My dog Spike was quite the unit, and she'd say, she asked me, what kind of a dog is he? And I said, what kind of a dog is he? I says, isn't it obvious? I said, he's a silly dog, of course. And so we'd have fun with the kids, and oh God Almighty, I forgot. I didn't even mention the part about helping Kevin fix that house up in Athol. He bought this old beat-up house in Athol, and man, I'll never forget being in the crawl space underneath the kitchen. No light except a fluorescent light. It was so tight in that crawl space I couldn't even roll over. Philo, talk about claustrophobia down there, insulating the floorboards. Anyways, that's when I was working at Rodney Hunt out in Athol. But anyways, things happen that way, and damn it, I miss him. Oh, and I have his shirt on too. He got these shirts. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it. It's Kevin Knight Electrical. The t-shirts are Kevin Knight Electrical. They're long, and they have pockets, and I still treasure them to this day. But I guess the lesson to be learned from all of this, the lesson to be learned from all of this is don't tell your friends how you vote. Anyway, don't tell anyone how you vote. All right, keep them guessing. So with that, I think we can bid adieu, Philo, and I want to thank the folks here at NEK-TV for allowing me to make this memorial and putting it up to YouTube. And Kevin was quite the unit, man. A better friend you would never find. And I didn't even get to the part where him and Meeker were trying to drink 21 shots of tequila at Husong's Cantina in Rosarito Beach. We found Meeker up a staircase, covered with vomit, and Kevin was somewhere else in another stairwell somewhere, and I don't think they made the 21 shots. And I knew better, because yours truly would always do the driving, so I tried not to drink too much. So anyways, that's our memorial for Kevin Earl Knight. Thanks for tuning in, and I miss him dearly. It's only been a year, and I really miss that guy. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up, Philo.
Okay, you got it.
Thanks, folks.
States to lose. Wave that flag. summer